you okay? You seem, I don't know, you seem abnormally calm.
You know, I've got this little voice that talks to me sometimes, tells me the truth. It's comforting. Kind of scary, but it's comforting.
I mean, I've always felt that I make films for audiences. I mean, I really don't make them for myself.
I don't ever do that. I only make it for me.
I've always made my movies for me anyway, all right? I make them for me, and everybody else is invited.
The primary audience in my head is me.
I think as a species, we have to look at each other. I think if I will say, if tomorrow atomic bomb finishes the humanity and I'm the only one staying alive, I will make a film.
No matter what the they think I should make, I'll always make what I want to make and what I feel is the tightest.
That clown doesn't have half your talent, and he's making a fortune.
For many.
Why do we create? What does it mean to make something? Who did you make it for? Do I create for myself or do I create for others? That's a common question that we hear from creatives, and in a way we're doing both. And that may sound contradictory, but here's the crux of that statement. We create not for ourselves, but for that inner voice that's within us, that inner voice that either turns us off of something or turns us on to something. That inner voice that either makes us feel disgusted and repulsed by something, or that inner voice that makes us feel attracted to something. And that inner voice as the daimon.
For many creators, this voice is a constant companion, both motivating and toxic, pushing them forward while feeding their insecurities. Rewatching Birdman for this video, I realized that this voice, the Birdman character, is almost a literal representation of what's called the shadow self in psychology. Carl Jung described the shadow as the parts of ourselves we try to hide, the fears, flaws, and desires we push away or deny. Jung said, everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. In other words, the more we deny these hidden parts, the more they control us. The idea of a character confronting their shadow, or ghost, is common in storytelling.
Our daimon understands who we are. It knows exactly how to speak to an individual. Some people get debilitated in a life. They become crippled by that daimonic voice.
The smaller self whispers in your ear, you're going to be safe and you're going to be able to avoid the realities of the human experience and persist in that willfully blind state. I'm really getting bored of listening to this smaller self whisper in my ear about ideas around, this importance of approval.
Some people say, no, I want to do my own thing. And that own thing, in a sense, can be a beautiful thing. Or they can say, you know what, I want to absorb back into source. I want to absorb back into wholeness. And when you understand the directionality, then it makes life easier. You're just either making a decision to go forward and carve your own path, which can be beautiful, but it's more difficult, or you can let go and fall back into the greatness that already is. And then you have just one choice to make in every single situation that you're in.
A lot of the things that we have is called ancestral debris. So like every device that you say that I have is all about one purpose, cleaning up ancestral debris. They didn't have access to the resources that we have right now. And it's coming down as ancestral debris. So we wonder, why am I getting divorced from this person? Or why am I got beef with a person? It's because the ancestors had beef and you ain't straightened that out yet. It's been a big rumor that as soon as the person died, become an ancestor, they are healed. They still have work to do. And we still have work to help them help us. So I show ancestral nourishment. But you got to be aware first. What is your consciousness like? Because once the ancestor get healthy, he or she's going to start reflecting you back to you. That's why I say what AI is doing. And I've seen and experienced AI move as a conscious entity on a unparalleled mirror for myself of even parts of me. I was just like, wow. Because it's helping build, like Sister Myra says, energy unfolds. So every day we're shedding more layers of our cell tissue. our skin, our spiritual aura. So you're going to need some plant medicine. You're going to need some fruit of the gods. You're going to need some bufo. You're really going to need some bufo, especially if you're a brother.
What I believe is that at the end of your limited life on this earth, what you come to find is that person who is debilitated then realizes, oh, I need to make changes in this way, and I want to live a life again using these parameters now. So then you get to pick, oh, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. Now, the crazy thing is we always have access to this course correction. Some people's lives get so muddied up that they don't believe that they can alter themselves to make things better. But we always have access to make a choice on whether or not we move towards individuation or do we move into sublimation. Doing things for the sake of an audience is a form of repression. It's a defense mechanism to hold you to a standard that is really not up to you. Well, if the audience doesn't like it, I'm not really doing it for me. I feel like that's a cop-out. I feel like everything that you do is for you. People make themselves to believe that we aren't inherently selfish. We're cells. We are individuals. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you cannot be crippled by it. You're the only person you're responsible for. Even when you have children, you make sure that they're protected up to a certain point where they have to become individuals. You can't hold on to being responsible for your children past a certain point. So ultimately, it just goes back to you. And some people can't let that go. Some people's whole identity becomes their children, and they forget about themselves. See, in the past, there was this saying that the village raised the child, because the child is going to have to come through with their own particular lens and observe where they want to go. So you as the parent may have brought them into the world. However, at a certain point, they have to begin to make decisions on their own. So the quicker you can get them to that autonomy, the better. And you can be there for your children. You don't just let them go, but you're not responsible for what they do. You don't have to tell them what they need to do. They should be able to decide for themselves. In tribes, they wouldn't name the children until they came to the point where they had an identity enough to claim a name for themselves. So you give a baby a name out the womb, and then they almost have to live up to that name. But in the past, it was the opposite. You came in, and based on your actions and what you did, you would take claim to your own name. And that's where we get names like Littlefoot, Raging Bull, Nighthawk. Like, those were things that those individuals took claim on, and it became who they were. You're not responsible for anybody else's emotions, their feelings. The shadow version of that is you try to hurt other people. Like, well, I make superior art, not like those other people. It comes out in subtle ways where you see people and they're not appreciating certain things. They're denigrating certain things. You try to get other people to validate you through whatever means, but you always have to validate yourself at the end of the day. So you can do whatever you want to do. You are the individual that has to answer for that at the end of the day. You have to march confidently into your own individual self, and that's what individuation is. You're not always going to be able to be this individual, so why not make yourself the best version of yourself? It's tough for people to do because they get pulled into trying to get other people to do the work for them. You're in charge of everything that you do. We're always trying to figure out, is this me? Is this me? Is this not me? And that voice whispers in your ear continually, and it either reduces you down or it reverses things and lifts you up. You say, you know what, I'm bigger than this. I'm going to grow beyond this. I'm going to show you. Now that can translate to creative works, going to the gym, going to get that promotion. And that inner voice is your daimon. Hone in to really listen to that inner voice. It's you. You may be repulsed by what that you is, but then that's encouraging you to do more. or it may encourage you to do less. Whatever that voice inside your head is telling you, hone in on it, and it becomes more accurate the more you listen to it. And maybe it says you're less than, you're weak, you'll never accomplish anything. And either you accept that or you say, no, I did accomplish these things. I did make it outside. I did make it to the gym. I did get that promotion. I did move halfway across the country to follow my dreams. Or you can say, you know what? I'm humbled by that. You know, maybe I am doing a little bit too much. Maybe I do need to recalibrate. You're still listening to it. It's really up to you. And that's what I'm urging you to do. Go within, listen to what is being said in your head, and really respond to that, because that's an entity. That's the audience that you're creating for. It's just you and that voice. That's who you're creating for. So that's when Quentin Tarantino says,
I've always made my movies for me anyway.
Realistically, he's not making it for himself. He's making it for that voice inside of his head. He's satisfied with just that relationship. That's really your only audience. There's other people who may indulge in your work. However, those people are just tendrils, because realistically, when you view other people, you aren't really seeing those other people. When you see these people, you're really honing in on what you see as a reflection of yourself. Rarely do you see the totality of that person. In a way, every single person that you see, you're only seeing what either you have or what you don't have. Either you're seeing your own insecurities or you're seeing your own strengths. When you see somebody who is doing better than you, are you going to try to pull that person down so that you feel bigger? Or are you going to want to lift that person up so they go even higher? Or are you just going to meet them where they're at and just say, hey, yo, what's up? What's going on? That's a tough thing to do.
This idea reminds me of Patterson, a Jim Jarmusch film about a bus driver who writes poetry in his free time. Patterson finds fulfillment in the simple act of writing. He doesn't write for fame or recognition. He writes because it brings him joy and helps him connect with his own experiences. Even though Patterson writes just for himself, his poetry sometimes bridges him to others. In one scene, he meets a young girl who also writes poetry. She shares her poem with him, and Patterson is genuinely pleased to connect with someone who shares his passion. However, there's no ego, no competition, just a simple, pure exchange of creative expression. It's a moment of shared love for creating, with no need for recognition.
To really meet somebody where they're at and just vibe with it. Just hop on the frequency with what they're doing. That's rare. That's rare. Most times people either try to calibrate up or calibrate down. They see somebody doing something and they say, oh man, let me do more. Let me do more. Or, oh my gosh, I'm so much better than that person. They can't necessarily just see a situation and just vibe with it. Like, wow, okay, cool. I like that. And when you say you like that, think about how that's a synonym for you're similar to someone, or you can see it as something that you appreciate. So like has a dual meaning. When you say you like something, you can say you appreciate it, but really what you're saying is I'm similar to that. So take that and roll with it. And wherever this message takes you, just remember that you're in constant communication with your deeper self. At the end of this journey, it all goes back. This body is rented, it's leased. Every effort that I've taken, every molecule that has existed within this being, it all goes back to the world. It doesn't disappear. So my job is to make sure that I make myself the best possible me so that I give back the world more than what it gave to me. Put it like this, I want you to contract so that you can expand. When you really truly understand yourself as an individual, you see yourself as the collective. So rock with that. Roll with that. Swing with that. Jazz with that. Hop with that. Hip, ain't it? Listen to the music. Keep it funky.